in the House. Good morning to Mikell McLeod. Am I pronouncing that right, Michael?
That's good. That's right. Thanks for having me on, Paul.
Why did they decide to spell it Mikell?
It's just an old family name, so they went with it that way.
How many times have you had to face that? No, I'm not misspelling my name. The first grade teacher probably said the same thing.
Constantly, but it's the best way to come across knowing a telemarketer's calling immediately. If they ask for Mikell McLeod, I know.
There you go. Mikell is another way. But Executive Director of Mississippi Statewatch, and it's good to finally have you in the studio. First of all, kudos on the service. It's just absolutely amazing. And I spend a great deal of my time on show prep. Also on the phone when I'm away. I mean, I'm going to follow exactly what bills are up, and I do it together, watching YouTube sometimes, and then finding out from Statewatch, which is kind of the play-by-play on it. And I want to get to some of the bills and things like that. But for folks, there are a lot of folks who don't know what the service is out there.
Sure. Well,
and it is available not only in Mississippi, but several other states.
It is. We are part of a group called NOLA, the National Online Legislative Association.
Yeah.
And we're in 37 other states. We're
Wow.
kind of like franchised out, basically. And we're broken down almost like, if you could imagine college football. We're part of a group that's called the Fish Heads, which was with Andy Fish, who's the owner of our group. And he runs Texas, New York, Pennsylvania, Mississippi, and then your Louisiana, Arkansas, things like that. Then there's other groups in certain sections, but we all work together to share technology as we go and try to make things better for everybody.
You have somebody at the House and Senate constantly, right?
I do. We have 4 people in the Capitol all the time, and then also have people who telecommute, who are watching live stream videos, keeping up with everything online.
I get the curiosity in me is seeing what in the world do you guys do off season when there's no session in here?
Well, luckily for me, I've got a 2-year-old little girl, so I spend a lot of time with her. Also, I do help other states. Luckily for us, we're only in session, 3 to 4 months a year, depending on the year. New York and Pennsylvania, they're almost year-round session. So I will help people in New York mainly. I'll help with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they were in session 11 of the last 12 months. So, and they had 26,000 bills.
That kind of explains the problems in New York. When you have politicians meeting year-round, that's a problem. I don't know what does California do?
California, they're a very unique state. As far as the legislature goes, they do about 6 months, but then they kind of vary from year to year. They have lots of special sessions, as they call them, as opposed to.
We do. First of all, I love the way that I can track certain bills, and I want to track the ones that are most important. In as normal, and as we say here, as you get past these deadlines, the bills become more and more important, and of course, those are the ones you're going to be tracking to find out exactly what happens. But not only that, I mean, you cover name it. The meetings are going to go on that day, the bills that are coming up, the track of the bills, the language of the bills. That's a lot of work.
It really is. We have some great employees who put in long hours. We average anywhere from 60 to 80-hour work weeks during session.
Wow!
Just to keep up with everything. Like this year, in Mississippi, we had 3,239 bills that were filed. Right now, we still have around 700. Let's see, 735 that are still alive, I believe. Going through, but yeah, so we were individually putting in statutes, breaking things down by subjects. Of course, we run our nightly reports that go through and pick out your keywords and everything else.
First thing I check in the morning is the track what happened in the House and Senate every morning, and it's good to know exactly. Plus the fact of who voted on what. The numbers of the votes and things like that. It's just if you want to keep up with the legislature in the most other than just being there, and I think it's better than being there because you get the whole scope of it. But it is a cost, is it not? Do you have a lot of average citizens who are members?
We have a few. Most of our subscribers are legislative professionals or media. News and stuff, nonprofits, that kind of stuff. But we do have a few concerned citizens who just want really in-depth information in real time. Like you said earlier, we are real time. We're in all the committee meetings. We're on the floor as things are happening. We're putting it directly out to our subscribers, even directly to their cell phones via text if they're keeping up with certain pieces of legislation.
Michael, how do they do that? If they want to contact you, just go to Statewatch, and is there some information there?
Yeah, just go to msstatewatch.net, and you'll see all of our contact information right there.
And then you can gain it that way. It's like some people in baseball. Every once in a while, you'll see somebody on the front row. There's just an average citizen, but they're on average, I should say that, baseball fans who are keeping the line score. You wonder why are they doing that, but. It is tremendously interesting. 735 bills are still alive. Is that normal or abnormal? Is it a good year, bad year, or how do you place that?
This is pretty much an average year for a non-election year. That makes sense. We've had more bills come through in an election year than we have in the past. Like I said, usually we would be around probably 2,900 bills in an election year, but we're having more this year. In general, we've already got probably around 64 bills, I believe, that have been signed into law, and so the majority, and also the majority of these bills that are still alive, most of them will become law. We've gotten to the point where if it's left, it's a pretty good chance it's going to pass.
Yeah. Was last year an unusual year?
Honestly, everything since 2020 has been an unusual year at the Capitol.
Yeah.
We've had with the new committee streams. It's been easier. It's been better. We really like that, especially in the Senate. But I mean, unusual compared to to pre-pandemic. But since then, it's kind of, as I say, the new normal around the Capitol.
Mikell McLeod, Executive Director of Statewatch. I got to ask you this. You may not have even been there, but it was something unusual I was watching yesterday. And, of course, they came in late at 4 o'clock, which is a travel day. And I think they were going to come in, have some of the obligatory stuff done, and then the speaker was going to gavel them out and adjourn for the day. And all of a sudden, somebody yelled from the back that they had to have a rules meeting immediately. And the speaker said, "Are you kidding?" And I haven't seen that before. Do you know what was going on there?
They just had some commendatory resolutions I think they needed to get out.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was just some, like, I forgot exactly who they were commending, but they needed to get some bills passed there and then sent to the Senate. They were probably coming in as a guest in the next day or so.
I see. Well, and the speaker did say, this better be good. So I was wondering what was going on that one. We did have some tweaking of and I've asked this several times, HB 1158, some tweaking of the medical marijuana law. All told, maybe about 30 minor changes were put forth in this bill, 1158. I think it's in the House, is it not?
Let me pull that up.
1158.
1158 is currently on the. It's been returned for concurrence in the House. So the House has to basically agree to the changes the Senate made or invite conference.
Any deadline on that one? That would be the end of the session, or
well, no, the deadline for to concur or not concur conference is going to be. But that's next week.
Next week.
Yeah. That's the 23rd.
Here are some of the changes in here that they're asking for. And again, it's kind of a core. I mentioned it's on my Facebook page if you want to see this listing. More of a course correction, and we've talked to a lot of people like Ken Neuberger and others about this. And this in no particular order. No patient would be required to submit to a drug test to be issued an identification card. Apparently now, if you have to go through a drug test. I'll tell you the rest of these when we return. Coming up. Mikell McLeod, Executive Director of Statewatch, joins us. Michael, how long have you been doing this?
This will be my 22nd session.
In the state of Mississippi?
In Mississippi. I'm born and raised in Mississippi. Yep.
Wow.
Since I was 22 years old.
You would see you've seen a lot of changes over there because the transparency and the willingness to be forthright and to provide a lot of transparency 20 years ago probably was not what it was, and that what it is now.
Oh, it's definitely changed. I mean, when I first started, we literally had dial-up internet connections. I had to take my little phone cord and plug it in on the dais when we get there to report from the Senate. We've been around since '84, I believe. In Mississippi, we started out as a newsletter, and we'd go out, once a week on Friday. You get your Statewatch newsletter, and in 1997, we joined the quote online revolution, and went based on the internet.
It is better today than it's ever been as far as the information. I sit here and look at one of the things was the Senate calendar or the House calendar, just to get an idea of what's coming up today. And I was looking at it, brought it up this morning. Senate calendar, March the 14th, at 10 o'clock is when it begins. And you see exactly what is happening. How close do they stick to that?
Pretty close. They'll usually just go straight down the calendar. In the House, they will jump around a little more than they do in the Senate. And it honestly differs a little bit depending on the Speaker, Lieutenant Governor. Lieutenant Governor Hoseman is pretty strict about how he goes to the calendar compared to how when Phil Bryant was Lieutenant Governor, he's tended to jump around a little bit. But it's straight through in the Senate and usually in the House as well.
I think number 4 here is a Trey Lamar bill is the author to increase by $50 million the aggregate amount of investment tax credits that may be allocated to participating investors, Mississippi small business, et cetera, et cetera. But if you've got a bill that you're really interested in and you want to know where it is on the calendar, it's a great tool. Do they most of the time ever finish that, or is it sometimes not completed, or they get through faster?
They usually won't go through an entire calendar in a day as far as taking everything up. You'll have members asked to skip and maintain a place on the calendar. It basically means if Lamar wanted to skip House that number 4 on the calendar, he would just say, let's hold its place, and we'll go to the next bill. And that way the next day it stays in the same spot.
So actually the calendar means it's just everything that hasn't been completed yet. That's where they are in that point of the calendar.
It's basically everything's been reported from committee. In the order it was reported from committee. But also you do have, appropriations and finance usually are always at the top of the calendar.
How do you judge the efficiency of our legislature compared to some of the others?
Well, we try to judge it against it themselves. Like, for instance, we have effectiveness ratings on all the members of how successful they are of getting bills passed. Like, for instance, if you look at for the 2022 session, as far as bills that actually became law, not counting appropriations chair, because John Reed and Rick Hopkins author all the appropriation bills. You look at last year, Jason White, 56% of his bills became law. Kevin Horan had a 54%.
Is that because of the Speaker Pro Temp's position, or?
Quite possibly. You also have Michael Ted Evans had a 50% chance, and that's just in the House.
Michael Country, he had a 50% chance record.
Yeah, 50,
How about that?
50%.
Who's the least effective in the Senate?
In the Senate, all right.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a. Well, you probably got a bunch of a tie.
I'm catching you cold here. The least effective in the Senate.
You've got a tie.
Give me the well, that's good, a tie. Who is it?
Well, 39 through 52 all had 0 bills passed.
Who's that? Give me the 0 bills.
All right, you had Chisholm, Simmons, Blackman, Thomas, Jordan, Hickman, Sojourner, Butler, Barnett, Hill, McDaniel, Polk, and Carter.
They had no bills passed at all?
Based on 2022, as far as bills authored. Now they're all, to be fair, they are working constantly on lots of bills. And
the other thing too, they co-sign on some bills. That
exactly.
Count those
This is principal authorship. This is not co-sponsors. You have co-sponsors all over the place.
This was a unique story, and it's available at supertalk.fm and our news guys and the journalists at SuperTalk Media. But let me see if I can find it here. The Blackman situation. Have you guys been covering that?
Well, I actually brought up a thing of the election for 2023 yesterday. I was going through it and prep for this.
Yes.
They withdrew, and so now you have.
Nobody was stunned about that, were they?
Well, let's just see. You've got Lawrence Blackman, who is now unopposed, who will be the new representative for House District 57, and Bradford Blackman, who will be the new senator for Senate District 21.
Those are both guys, right?
Yes,
and both the sons of Ed Blackman and Barbara Blackman.
Yes.
Or is there anybody running against them, or is that,
no? They're unopposed.
That was the method behind the madness.
Well, currently, right now, going into 2023, we have 82 members who are unopposed out of 174. So 82 are unopposed.
Wow.
56 in the House, 26 in the Senate. We actually have. We have 2 other people who will be first-time lawmakers who are unopposed, and that's Andy Berry, Senate District 35, And Beth Luther Waldo, House District 15, also will be freshmen upcoming, and they're unopposed. They won't have any election coming up.
That's a little scary. It's almost like killing the deer the first time you go deer hunting. I mean, you think it's going to be that easy for it's not going to be that easy in the future.
Yeah, freshmen typically, they're kind of reserved their first few years. But I'll tell you what, this year, this term, I've seen especially in the Senate, the more action taken and more debate and just leading roles taken by a lot of the freshman senators this year.
This has been a caustic year as far as racism is concerned because of the Jackson and the Capitol complex, has it not?
Well, 1020 and a lot of the Jackson bills definitely has taken the a big position in the legislature. Usually every year, one or two bills will kind of sum up that session. Last year was a lot of the ARPA bills or the teacher pay raise, and this year you're looking at basically all the varying bills about Jackson are really kind of the main point of what we've seen so far.
How do you? Yesterday we had a little bit of a snafu, and I was talking about was it the blueberry bill? I thought the blueberry bill I read it and said it was dead in one of the ones that we got some information on, but it had already gone to the governors. So why was there something listed as dead?
A lot of times there's multiple bills. There were two blueberry bills.
I got you.
You had a blueberry bill in the House and a blueberry bill in the Senate, and one of those became law and one of them died. Basically, the House and Senate will kind of decide, okay, we've each got one of these. Which one do you want to take? Say there were two opal bills, the state gemstone bills. There were two
it was the opal. I'm sorry, it was the opal, not the blueberry.
Okay, that was 2138. Yes, but that's now law. I believe that the blueberry bill was signed yesterday. Actually, it'll be released today.
Candidates seeking the Democratic nomination for District 64 House seat has withdrawn. According to court records, Angela Grayson has submitted a letter withdrawing her candidacy to the State Executive Committee for the Mississippi Democratic Party. Grayson was going to challenge Shanda Yates, the incumbent, on residency requirements. Citing Grayson's decision to withdraw, the case was dismissed Monday by the Hinds County Circuit Court. Yates, an independent, also is challenging Kia Jones on residency requirements. A hearing on that case is yet to be set. Jones is also seeking the Democratic nomination, so some news also in the past 24 hours. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, I was just saying, you also have for that same district, you're going to have Emil Wilson for 64 to go against as a Republican to challenge.
Are those listed in? I haven't seen this on Statewatch.
Not yet. We'll be posting it probably when I leave here.
Where is that under the banners? What banner is that under?
It'll be under session information or interim. This is the newest information I got from the Secretary of State's office, so we'll be placing a link to it.
You have my Statewatch.
My
Statewatch, of course. Then you have search, track, reports, resource, session, interim, media, other. And then under that is advanced search. You've got so many different things. You could spend several hours just getting used to it.
You really can. Our system goes very, very in depth. I mean, we have search abilities. You can say, I need a House bill that's still alive, filed by a Republican, that deals with blueberries that under this statute, and you'll see that exact search.
And I will say this also, the changes are not instantaneously, but within seconds sometimes. If the House is adjourned, boom, it's there on the live calendar on the front page, and also the House bills that are being talked about, it's all there. Final thoughts from Mikell McLeod, Executive Director of Statewatch, coming up. Michael, in the final segment here, I was wondering, of the 735, I think that's what you said, 735 bills that are still existing,
yes.
Some of those, very few of those, would become law immediately upon the governor signing them, but most of those are going to be July the 1st, right?
That's correct, yeah. Most bills go into effect July 1st. Usually the House or Senate will say, make an amendment that says upon passage.
Yeah.
I would say that's fewer than 1 to 5% of the bills.
Usually because it is something dealing with, whether it's medicine or something like that.
Anything they want an immediate impact or change or something that either someone needs immediately done, yes.
Where do you call hometown? You said you grew up in Mississippi.
I live in Gluckstadt right now. Hometown is in Fannin, Mississippi, other side of the reservoir, so not too far away.
Gluckstadt is exploding, is it not?
It really, really is. There's a new house popping up from my land every day.
I mean, it is amazing because we've been here for a while, but when we were here it was country roads. And the Catholic Church out there now, you have to look and find it because the landscape has changed drastically. But it is amazing that the overflow is just filled in this area.
It really is, and restaurants are popping up all over the place. They have
Yes.
new shopping centers every other day, it seems.
Well, looking for the permit list of things that are going to be built and the permits that have been issued is just it's 3 pages long.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be up there, that's for sure.
Well, I guess for the people who live there, you are in the newest city in Mississippi, so it was recently born, so that's something to be talked about. So, all right, my man, final thoughts here.
Well, we've got a pretty busy week ahead of us, and we're down the home stretch. We've got today is the deadline for original floor action on bills from the other house, but we've already passed that, actually. The House and Senate have already done that section, so we're pretty much ahead of schedule as far as appropriation bills. Any revenue bills from Ways and Means or Finance will need to be passed on the floor today. They can then make any changes on it the next day and table any motion to reconsider on Thursday. We have conference weekend scheduled for the 25th and 26th, which is not this weekend, but the next weekend.
Next weekend, yeah.
We'll see if that actually happens. I'm hearing rumors that people want to finish a little early this year, and if that happens, conference weekend might get moved a little. So we'll just kind of see what happens. Sign Die is going to be technically on the 2nd, so hopefully we can just get there as soon as we can.
What's your guess?
My guess would be
Is this on the betting line? Can we bet on this one somewhere?
I've got my square marked as the 30th would be my guess, but that's just a guess. Would be the 30th.
Which would be on Thursday.
That's a Thursday, yes.
And that's going to give us about 14 days, 15, 16, 17 days left.
That's about right. Now, one thing you need to know, according to the rules, you can't pass an appropriation or a revenue bill within 5 days of sign die. So all the appropriation and revenue bills will have to be taken care of up to 5 days. Now, they always can extend the session on paper, which they wouldn't technically have to be there for it, but they could move the sign die back if they needed to.
You go somewhere else after this?
No, I'll be here. If I am working for other states, I'll
be done here.
I'll do it remotely. Yes.
Which is a whole new ball game too, because you can do this from anywhere now. So for the most part,
it really is. It's allowed me to have people like in Colorado, and I have people in Texas, and I have some people in Florida and Georgia who are working for me now that 10 years ago I would have never thought was even possible.
Amazing. Well, stay in touch. You got to get back on because you're a wealth of information, and we thank you so very, very much.
Well,
Great
thank
job.
you very much for having me, Paul. It's been great. I had a good time.
Thank you, partner. Appreciate it. Mikell McLeod, Executive Director, Mississippi Statewatch. As we mentioned, the House and Senate gavel in